All right, guys, I think we're now live on the site. Let me just check it. And I want to welcome everybody to another weekly edition of our Conversations with Commodores. And I'm so pleased to have a Commodore great, the pride of Wetumpka, Alabama, Jamie Winborn. How you doing, my friend? Good to see you.
All right, man. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Good to see you, man.
Well, Jamie, I sure appreciate you having some time for us tonight. As you know, we've been doing these for many weeks now with Commodores from all ages, and it's just so much fun catching up with not only my teammates but with coaches and folks who are just part of what have made the Commodores program what it is. And you, my friend, certainly fit that bill. So I'm glad you've got some time for us this evening.
Hey, man, I'm excited to be on. I'm excited. I saw a couple of shows and I'm happy to be on it.
Oh, absolutely. Now, Jamie, where are you? Where am I catching you? Are you in Wetumpka or do you live somewhere else these days?
Yeah, actually, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I just actually got back from Wetumpka, gone down there for a second to check on my family, throughout this virus or what have you, and everything's going on. But I'm here in Atlanta now, chilling in the living room, me and my dog Trigger.
Well, I'm so glad you're doing well. You look good. You look happy. I hope you've been getting some exercise or doing whatever you normally do and still maintaining all that social distancing and all that stuff we got to deal with the pandemic.
Absolutely. And that's been rough, of course. As we all know, that's been rough. But, we have to deal with what we have and, keep pushing forward.
Well, it absolutely does. And Jamie, I know we don't know each other very well, but I'm from the Wiregrass. I'm from Dothan, and I played with Watson Brown during his years when he was coaching in the late '80s. But I have always followed any Alabama guys who go up to Nashville and play, particularly ones who are from south of Montgomery and the area, and particularly. Wetumpka has been a rival of my high school over the years, not when you and I were playing, but afterward, Northview High School out of Dothan. But anyway, enough about me. For those of you who don't know, Jamie's originally from Wetumpka and we're going to get through this. He ended up at Vanderbilt and was a multi-year starter, highly decorated, second round draft pick by the Niners, 10 years in the league, and just represented us so well over the years. And before we really get into this, Jamie, I want to congratulate you on a 10-year career. It's quite rare for folks to get drafted, particularly in the second round, and then stay and play for 10 years. That says a lot for you. So congratulations on getting through all of that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Definitely took some work. But anything you put in, you're only gonna get out of it what you put in it. And I learned a lot. Had a lot of good older guys over me, when I went into the league. I mean, I was well prepared, I felt, coming out of Vanderbilt. And, Coach Woody always had us right, kind of knew what pro expectations were. But, I was blessed to have some real good guys over me, T.O., Bryant Youngs, Dana Stubblefields, guys like that. It's kind of, you just had to learn the way to be a pro, as soon as you step into the locker room. So, I'm grateful for that.
Well, some of your teammates, I suspect, are going to roll through here in the next little bit. But I do want to say hey to one of my teammates, Jay Fishesher. Fish is on. Gene Wyndham and June Jakes is on. JJ was my guest recently. So thank you, guys. Let's see. Everett Robinson is here. And anybody else, y'all just keep rolling through and share some love tonight for Jamie. Well, Jamie, let's talk about.
What's up, fellas? What's up?
I think I've either read about this or maybe John Gromos back in the day talked about this on one of the broadcasts with Joe, with Fish. But, Wetumpka, Alabama is such a small town. And it's not like you came from one of the big metropolis, like playing for at a big high school in Atlanta or even Birmingham or Montgomery. I know Wetumpka just because I just have friends there and always have traveled through there. I know it's a very small community. So what was it like coming out? You were a really big fish in a small pond being from Wetumpka, really only two real schools, I think, in the county, or maybe three, some county schools. But then getting all the way up to Nashville, making it into the SEC. When did Vanderbilt get on your radar? When did you really get serious about wanting to come to Vanderbilt?
It's crazy how that situation came about. We had a guy who actually, his name is Reed Tankersley. He's a tight end. He's about 6'4", 240 pounds, back then. And, he actually ended up going to Auburn. But I think there was a film that he sent in to Vanderbilt, or, they were looking at him, and they actually, he played both ways. He played defensive end as well. So I think, this is what Coach Nolan Parker was telling me. He said they were watching the film and they were wondering, like, who's this linebacker that's on here, because, he's making almost every play, and, he's looks like a good player or what have you. Because my recruiting kind of got, slowed up because I moved from Texas to Alabama in the middle of the 11th grade season. So I knew I lost a lot of recruits, with the Western Division and, stuff like that. And I knew it was going to be difficult, once I got down there to even have a chance. But, that's how they found me. I honestly think it was accident. They found me looking at Reed Tankersley, and, and I told Reed, I said, man, I thank you, man, because really without you, I don't know if they'd have found me. Although I was committed to other schools at that time, the winning determining factor for me, man, really was my head coach had sat me down, and, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but, football was not even going to be in the picture for me. I was ready to go to the Marines.
Wow.
I'd won the prestigious Marine Award, down there in Alabama and all of that good stuff. And, I trusted in my head coach and a lot of the coaches that were there, they talked to me. And when Vanderbilt came into the picture, I just went with them on trusting the fact that they said that this was the best education that you have on the table by far. And, and that still stands today. I still feel the same way. Still proud of my education and where I went to school. And I really just went off the football, radar as far as, going to a team that's winning and all of that good stuff. And, and they were in the SEC, and I said, well, hell, I could get an education. And who cares if I'm playing on the winning team, as long as they get to see my abilities if I play against them. So I can knock out two birds with one stone. And I just trusted in my coaches. And I said, Coach, you better be right, But I think I'm going to go with Vanderbilt. I went on a visit and I loved it. Lamont Turner, AJ McGrew, those were my hosts there at that time. And, I met a lot of guys there, but those were my two main hosts. And, I just felt I just felt like I was in the right place. And, I wouldn't promise to play or anything like that or any of that. I just knew that I was going to go there and work hard. And that's and I was going to be getting a great education. And I'm still happy to this day that I did that.
That really, you must have really had some trust in your coaches and some mentors.
Absolutely.
There, because guys, if you don't know where geographically where Wetumpka is, it's 30 minutes, give or take, from where Alabama State University in Montgomery is located. It's less than an hour from Auburn. It's a couple of hours from Florida State. It's a couple of hours from Tuscaloosa. There were so many other schools, I'm sure, that wanted you, but for you to take a trip up to Nashville and to fall in love with the school, did you commit while you were there, or did it take a little bit of time? When were you offered, and how long did it take for you to say yes?
It was just a matter of talking to my coaches. I was actually going before I even went up there for the visit.
Wow.
I'd already told my coach I'm going to go, because the offer was already on the table. I guess they really like what they saw on film. And, the next question, obviously, in the recruiting process is, how's the guy's grades? Is he able to get in?
Right.
Because without that, obviously, there's nothing to talk about. But I already passed all of that stuff. So, just in my head, I knew, the way that they spoke about this education from this particular school, I knew, this is the type of decision that I need to make based on what I want out of life. And, the highest education that I can get, I believe that's probably where I'm going to go, because, guys get hurt, guys get there, coach doesn't like them, things don't go work out, so many things, making it to the NFL is a far-fetched dream. I mean, I try to keep it realistic with kids when I talk to them about that. You could be riding your bike and fall the wrong way, and all of a sudden now you just fall out of contention for making it to the next level, or even being able to start at the college that you're at. So I made that decision strictly on the academics alone, because when they first asked me, I knew not one player on Vanderbilt's team.
Wow.
I didn't even know Vanderbilt had a team.
Wow.
I wasn't really into, I really wasn't into all of the football stuff like that, man. To be honest with you, I just really wasn't into a lot of it. I didn't watch a lot of football growing up, none of that stuff. Life was just a little bit different for me, a little bit more demanding on things that were more realistic and current at the time,
Sure.
like making sure bills are paid and, just struggling and battling with my family members and stuff. Didn't watch a whole lot of TV growing up like that. And actually, I'd never been to a pro game ever.
Until you lined up and played? Had you not been to a pro game before then?
No, I'd gone to, as far, but by the time I got to Vanderbilt.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So, I didn't, there's no pro team in Alabama.
Right. That's right.
And then in Texas, I think me and my uncle, he tried, I was so young back then. I just wasn't into it. I just liked the game. I all of the other stuff, I wasn't really into it. I just liked the game of football.
Well, Jamie,
it was a way to me to release stress, and help keep me out of trouble, and, getting into things, it just kept me busy. And that was just what I liked about it. And I just loved football, actually being out there playing it. You know what I mean? I didn't too much care about watching it and all of that stuff. I just didn't. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I always tell people that, but that's just the way it really was.
It's not as weird as you think. I've heard of a lot of guys who they'd rather be on the field playing or practicing or doing something and not sitting on the couch watching it. I get that. Mm-hmm. We've got some more guys rolling in here, Jamie. I want to say hello. Chris Krause, who was a mate of mine. Billy Smith, part of the police force with the Keystone Cops. Jim Arnold says, "What's up, Jamie?" Rock Batten. Paul
Hey, Jim.
Some more guys rolling through.
How y'all doing, fellas? Can you see me still?
Absolutely. You are good.
Okay.
You're good.
I'm sorry. My Instagram is going crazy right now. Every time I can't see myself because I keep getting these banners up there, but we're good. We're good. I'm charging.
No worries. And Fish just brought up, Jay Fishesher just brought up a good point. He wants you to talk, and we're going to get to this. You got a real opportunity to play for a former pro coach who had so much experience with the Steel Curtain and that awesome defense with the Steelers. What was the mindset? What was it like playing for Coach Woody? You're playing on his side of the ball, and you're in his system. That must have been for an athlete like yourself, a real go-getter, a headhunter, a real athletic guy. That must have been a dream playing for him.
You know what? And it was. I mean, from day one, just when I knew about Coach Woody, being there, and I just knew, I'm actually getting I'm getting pro coaching already. Guys have pro experience already and been successful at it. And like I mentioned before, that was a huge advantage. It really was. As far as me being prepared when I got to school as well. Sorry about that, fellas.
It's okay. Keep going.
It was an awesome thing, man. Woody, Woody always talked to me. Woody always, Woody was like a father figure for me and everything, man. He called me in the office and talked to me even when I wasn't playing. Because I was redshirted.
Right.
And I, go up to and talk with Woody, and because I was concerned on how, what I need to get better with all the time. I was just hungry to know and get better, and asking questions like what was Jamie Duncan like, because he was, obviously the guy there at that time, but I wanted to know where I was compared to him when he was at my age.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And, these are the kind of curious questions I had. And, he was able to answer all of that and, tell me what work on this, keep getting better at this and that. And, you're doing just fine. You're just fine. And, I didn't buy that too much. I didn't want to hear that. I wanted to hear, but just fine doesn't get you very far. I need to be the best at this. I need to get better at something. He'd always say I need to get better, but he was telling me, you're doing your thing. You're not there yet, but I just had to respect that, and I did. And anything he told me, man, or said to me, I just really bought all into it.
Well, when you got to Vanderbilt in the fall of your freshman year, and ultimately you learned they were going to redshirt you, I'm sure at first it was probably a little frustrating, but did you come to appreciate why you were being redshirted?
I really wasn't frustrated when I was redshirted because I clearly could see, out there at practice, why I'm redshirted. It's actually doing me a favor because there's nobody else who's going to play either. Not above Carlton Hall, Anthony Jordan, and Jamie Duncan. These are all three pro linebackers.
That's some pretty good talent right there.
You understand? So I was like, I kind of got to wait my turn. There's not going to beat them out of nothing. It's not even a matter of how good I can play or any of that. It'd be foolish for me to even be playing right now because I'm just wasting myself. That's how I felt about it. And I took that as and just said, let me look at the positive in this, which is that I got time to practice and get better without it even counting against me and get acquainted to going to these classes and stuff and living in a whole new place. Of course, I was used to being moved around or whatever, but I don't know this place up here. I've never been to college. I know it's going to be difficult, and I got to get used to that. So that gave me an advantage to be able to transition out of high school into a tough academic school like that, because, I don't downplay, Vanderbilt's a tough school. There's not even the classes that people would call the lower class, like cookie cutter classes, they're still rough classes. You got to keep up with your stuff, turn your stuff in, and they're not doing any favors over here.
No, they really aren't.
And that's what I did respect about that university, and I'm so happy about today. But I wasn't too mad about being too upset about being redshirted because I knew I needed that time to adjust, and I think I did the best I could do with that, and it worked out.
Well, Jamie, where did you live your freshman year?
My freshman year, I think I was in
Were freshmen still living in
four
Brandon?
dorms over there used to be by right off of West End, I think it was. But when I left and I went to school early, and I was living with Alfonso Harvey, Ian, and John Bradley, and like a fraternity house, and I was staying in the attic. Yeah, it's hot as hell up there too.
Nashville, was there any air conditioning? I bet that was a little.
There was air conditioning, but hell, it wasn't working too good or whatever. But I wasn't mad. I was just happy to be at college, and all this is all learning experience for me. At that point, I knew I could, eventually get somewhere better. But I wasn't technically in school yet, so I had to deal with, I didn't have the money to afford an apartment or any of the other stuff. But I was happy just to be around some fellas. I'm looking up to the guys, Alfonso Harvey, all these guys. These guys are huge, and here's this guy from Wetumpka that I don't think very many people knew about me. I wasn't a high recruit coming in or any of that. Like some of the other guys, I wasn't, and I just kind of did my thing and respected everybody and was just trying to learn, from them, because these guys were huge, by the way. I did say that, right?
They were. Marcus Woods,
a big guy.
OJ Fleming,
Smith.
What's up? Edie Johnston, Kelsey just joined us. Jamie, you got a bunch of Commodores on tonight with us.
Hey, anchor down, baby.
That's right, anchor down. Now, who were your roommates freshman year? Or did you?
My freshman year was Doyle Crosby. If I'm remembering right, it was me and Doyle Crosby.
Okay.
Yeah, me and Doyle Crosby, because I think me and Jimmy and I were, I think Jimmy Williams and I were roommates my second year, but I think it was me and Doyle Crosby. He's from Port St. Joe, Florida.
Gotcha.
He played defense end, and
Certainly.
and good guy. Still talk to him today, but but I think I was, if I'm not mistaken, he was redshirted as well. If I'm not, it was Doyle. Doyle was redshirted as well.
Probably a good percentage of the class were.
Can you still see me?
Yeah, I can. It's just your notifications going off. That's okay.
Yeah, that's the damn curfew.
We can hear you just fine. You can turn the notifications off if you want, if it's bothering you.
Hold on.
Okay, go ahead. Just swipe up and turn it off.
Where's okay, so like I'm like 10 years late on this, right?
If you're on a smartphone, if it's an iPhone, just swipe up and you've got the notifications. It's purple. You just hit that button and it'll stop.
I don't have an, okay, let me see if I don't see the notification. Oh, hold on. Let me go the other way on this phone.
Look for the moon.
Okay. I'm going to push clear. Hell, I don't know if that's it or not, but.
That's all right. We can keep going, Jamie. No worries.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Well, they're only send out one of
those. Let's take it into your first spring training. This is in the spring of your freshman year. Your redshirt year is basically over. You're now fighting for playing time. So who's coming back? Who are you fighting for roster time with? How intense was that? Because I know it was a battle. I know it had to have been.
This is the craziest story. When Duncan left, I was fourth string, I think, third or fourth.
Okay.
There was John Bradley, Jason Smith, I think, and there was somebody else. No, I think that might have been me then, because I was fourth string when Duncan was there. Okay. That was the order. So he leaves. Now I'm third. Okay. And Jason Smith had put in for a transfer because, I guess he saw another opportunity or what have you, but he just said, this guy's going to play. I just don't see, I don't know. He kind of looked over with John Bradley too. And, John was good too. All of the guys could play, and, I didn't know the bar at that point. The bar was Jamie Duncan. And all I know
is that's a pretty high bar right there.
Well, yeah, I mean, and we're all under the bar. That's why we're all playing behind them. So I didn't know what was what. I just knew I've been getting better, and I got to go in and do my thing. But Jason Smith ended up transferring, so now it's a battle between me and John Bradley. And I think I might have started practicing, got an opportunity to get some reps with the first defense. And around maybe about a week of practice or a little bit head trigger, leave the doll alone. I'm on an interview. He's crazy. But anyway, sorry. Yeah. But he and John Bradley and I would battle, whatever. But I was running with the second team, and I got on first team one time, and I think I did okay. I think that time. And then we began, doing rotations after I think the second week or what have you. And then we just kind of battled, if I'm not mistaken, to the end of that. And I don't know if John got hurt a little bit, or I don't know what happened with it's a long time ago and I'm thinking about it. But I remember us traveling. Sure. I mean, not traveling, battling one another, rotating with the first D. Sure. And stuff. And I began to get a little bit more comfortable and would make plays and stuff. And he was making plays too. I just ended up being on top at the end of it.
Who was your position coach at that time?
Chris Gaines. Chris was, well, that wasn't my position. Was Chris my position coach then? No.
I knew Chris was on staff, but I didn't know if he was.
Yeah, because he always worked with us, So, and of course Chris was a legend as well.
You don't have to tell me, friend. Jamie, I ran scout team while he was on first team defense. I can assure you, I know about Chris Gaines. I know about Chris Gaines.
Yeah,
I was
Chris
there.
was.
Hey, I was there in '87 at Tulane when he had 37 tackles.
Oh yes, he's a beast. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
and when Chris says something to you, Chris, it's crazy because Chris will come out there. When I see him, it just be like he's like, "Come on, Jamie, you can do better than that, baby. You can do better than that." And I'm like, "Okay, coach, I got you, because I respected anything he said. I respect it. From him, Woody, all of the guys. Because Vandy was prided on linebackers, especially that linebacker position. If you played linebacker, period, it's just a certain way you had to be, and you just had to be a person that at least gives you all out there. And I didn't want to be the one to screw that up.
Well, it was a mindset, and you're right.
If I'm, that was it.
What I was going to say about
Chris,
Chris being from, I think, Hickory, Tennessee, and I love Chris, and Brad, his younger brother, was in my recruiting class. But Chris's voice never matched Chris's physique.
No.
Now I know that you've talked in the past of you living basically in the woods in Wetumpka, and you had a South Alabama or a Texas dialect that folks had to get used to.
Yeah.
Chris, and I love him, but that dialect, Chris, you had to get used to that too.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would say if I'm pretty country myself, but I mean, if my speed of talking was like 80, Chris was like 44. I mean, and what's crazy? It didn't matter if he was upset or if he was sad or if he was happy. It was still the same old Chris. that voice was, his voice is legendary. Honestly, you're right, it is. And but I mean, on the field, just a complete beast.
Yeah, Jamie,
all the way around.
I got a quick funny story to share with you about Chris. If you remember, they used to hold the blue-gray game Christmas Day in Montgomery at Crampton Bowl for many, many years, and it was a college seniors all-star game. And yeah. I think they still hold it, or I don't know.
The blue and gray game.
Blue and gray, I'm sorry. And for years, when I was in high school and even in college, I would go to the game. Well, the year that Chris was playing in it, he was named defensive MVP for his team. And back then, they used to give these really big trophies. Well, Chris gets named MVP post-game. They call it over the intercom, and everybody's going crazy for him. We're all showing our Vanderbilt. And he holds up the trophy to show everybody. Well, the trophy completely disintegrates in his hand. The entire, and it's probably 2, 3, 4 feet. It's big. And the whole thing just falls apart, and Chris is just left holding just the base. Anyway, it's nothing that Chris did to make it happen. He was just so strong, or maybe it was poorly made. But anyway, he laughed it off. Chris was good sport about it. But let's get back to Jamie. Jamie, you're leaving. You're coming into the fall of your sophomore year, and you're sitting first team, and this is your time to shine.
Mm-hmm.
And who else is in that starting defense with you then, your sophomore year? Remember some of the names from that team?
I thought on my Matt Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
It was Lamont Turner was there.
Mm-hmm.
And going in my Lamont was there.
Mm-hmm.
Lamont Turner was I think it was Lamont and Matt. Or Lamont Turner and Nate Morrow.
Okay.
I can't. Why does
had Rock and Carlton?
I'm sorry.
Graduated?
I'm missing because when Lamont left, it was Nate. That's what it was. Nate went. When, I kind of get it together, but I think it.
That's okay. It'll come to you.
And Lamont
Did
Turner.
you get to play with Rock and Carlton, or had they graduated as well?
Who was that?
Rock Batten and Carlton Hall. Had they?
No,
graduated?
they all went. They all went with the class before, with Duncan's class.
Same with Jamie Duncan. Okay.
Yeah, they all went with them.
Well, take us into that huddle. Your first game playing for the Black and Gold. And do you remember anything about that comes to mind? Is it memorable to you? Did you get the butterflies, or were you just
Yeah,
ready to
it
knock
was.
heads?
You know what? I knew we were in some serious trouble, is what it was, because when we came out to warm up, period, we had on shoulder pads and everything. But when Mississippi State came out, they didn't even have shoulder pads.
Mm-hmm.
They had just jersey, and they were just, running around. And I'm thinking, it is hot as hell out there. I don't know what the hell, how they do that down here. It was really hot. And I was already knowing and thinking to myself, like, we're not going to, we just made a mistake, because they're used to this heat. We're not used to this heat. This heat was hot. And here they are come out with no pads on already and preserving in their heat, their fluids. And which is probably one of the reasons why for the third quarter, I was going to the locker room to get IV.
Yeah, that was at Mississippi State. That was not a good day for the Commodores.
No,
that was not a good day.
Hey.
But let's fast forward a little bit into that season. This is the season of '98, your sophomore year. I want to take you to the South Carolina game. That was a 17-14 win at home at night. Do you remember much of that game? Because that was the first win of the season, and then y'all followed it up the next week with a victory beating Duke at home 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I remember that game. Anthony Wright was a quarterback then, I believe. Was that right? Yeah, that was Anthony. That was right. If I'm not mistaken, was a quarterback at Eric. Who was that?
I said that sounds right. That sounds correct.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. And they had a good team, and I was just one of those guys that was, my mindset when I go out there to play, and I always said this to the fellas: if they knew that the other team was going to win, they wouldn't even make us play. If you just knew for a fact they were going to win, then they wouldn't even make us play. Well, how can they say that they're going to win and beat us when they've never played us? Not this team. They might have played the team before, but that team is not even who we're playing either. So it doesn't matter. We don't have to be the best team overall. We just need to be the best team for these 90 minutes out here.
That's right.
And I can guarantee you, if you smack them in the mouth, at some point they're gonna fold. That's how I looked at it. And if we put points up, any heart can be broken. That's how I felt about it. And I just felt that we had an advantage because guess what? They're coming in here and they're just thinking, oh, here's these little nerdy schoolboys out here trying to play football. And as soon as they think that, we're just going to smack them in the mouth and we're going to keep smacking them. And if we do that, we're going to win this game, period. I mean, that's just the way it is. They underestimate us, but they don't know that we have some people over here. I just felt like, man, I grew up worse than half of y'all over there. So I don't want to hear all of that. That was a part of the intimidation they like to do and all that good stuff, and I didn't care nothing about that either. So I would tell the guys, man, listen, man, let's just hit them. Let's just do our thing, man. All this is practice with a bunch of more people around. That's all this game is. And we're going to play. That's why we practice hard and it's not going to change by the time we get to the game. We're just going to do the same thing. And, we just got to play. And the reason all of us came to this damn school is because we wanted to be the part of the people to make a change. So here we are in the opportunity. Let's make it happen. And we went out and we played our asses off. We had a lot of mistakes and stuff like that. That's part of football. But we thought we were going to win, and we wanted to win. And that's most important. I think everybody bought into that same idea that nobody knows who's going to win for real, but and that's just, that was just it. I mean, and we did well. I felt like we did well against them and we were happy as I don't know what when we
won. Everett Robinson, he agrees with how hot it was at Mississippi State. He says it was pretty hot. It was hot. Pretty hot. Well, Jamie, you ended up starting for your final 3 years at Vanderbilt, and before we head into the pros and the draft, Do you have any vivid memories of some either good times or bad times on and off the field at Vanderbilt? I want to talk about some games or maybe some players you played against that just stuck out, or maybe one of your favorite games playing away or home or memories. Anything that you want to share that brings a smile to your face from those times.
I can't really, I really can't say, man, because it was all a battle and I was happy, everything was better than what I'd come from where I was from. So that's how I looked at it. It was all the opportunity and, playing against guys. I was always psyched to play Alabama. Kind of pissed at some of the teams that we should have beat and we didn't beat them. And we should have beat them, Ole Miss, the Ole Misses and Florida Gators and all of that, because I still argue with these guys to this day.
I was going to say,
we held Florida to the lowest points
right.
the lowest points and yardage in the swamp. We lost that game. What was it? They had 150 some yards total.
Mm-hmm.
Total.
Yeah, I'm gonna find that one. Give me just a second.
Yeah, they had that, and we lost.
Well, Jamie, a bunch of those guys you played against in the SEC, you either were teammates with them later on in the pros, or you competed against them during your years in the pros. So I'm sure you had some good ribbing and jawing with those guys at times.
Well, and this is what's funny. Is that they were always still able to say the thing that mattered, which was that they won and they were winning, But the conversations would always respect that. Well, we know you ball, you did your thing, but yeah, but we beat y'all, and that's that don't really cut it for me. That ain't worth shit. I'm sorry, I can't cuss. I'm sorry, but that ain't really worth much to me. I mean, the fact that they felt like I did well. But we lost. Mm-hmm. So how well did I do? Didn't do well enough. Is my mindset, and I hated that. And that's one. And being at this, the next level, at these guys' houses and stuff like that, and having to hear them brag and stuff like that about beating us or something, I still take that very seriously. I really do. And I probably take it a little bit more serious than I probably should. But I probably left a couple guys' houses or, didn't talk to a guy for a day or two.
Right.
Because of talking because that's something I can't change no more. You know what I'm saying? And that kills me that, do you know that I never won more than, I don't think I ever won more than, I didn't win more than 5 games in the season. Mm-hmm. I came from high school, we were winning, mm-hmm. And then I go to Vandy and then we weren't. And then I get drafted to the Niners and we're winning. But I'm on the team with guys and meeting guys and seeing guys that we should have beat and we were that close to beating. And that's just, and that's just something you can't get it back. Mm-hmm. You just cannot get that back, man. Your record is what it is for the rest of your life. In everybody else's college, this, that. When you talk about what happened with your win-loss, you gotta have something to talk about.
Well, not knowing you until this conversation, but following your career and seeing that you got to play for 10 years in the league, I suspect there was a little bit of a chip on your shoulder coming out of Vanderbilt and needing or wanting to prove some of those guys that not only did you belong, but you were going to stay. And getting drafted in the second round of the NFL draft is no joke. So I want you to take us to that time period, the spring of your senior year. You're getting ready for the draft. Are you starting to hear from clubs? Is Coach Woody or any of the coaches guiding you a little bit about the process, or what was going on at that time period?
Well, yeah, actually, after my sophomore year, there was being talks about me being potentially able to go out in the draft, but guys didn't do that at that time. But which was really would have been my junior year, because I only played 3 years, and really, I played 11 games my first year, 11 games my second year, and 9 games my third. Mm-hmm. That's not a lot to me. That's not a lot of games to play. But I just, there was always talk about, when I started seeing all the newspaper stuff and, and my family calling me and saying, oh, you're in these magazines, all this other stuff, it was cool. But I knew I still had to get better. I had a lot of stuff to do. And my education was very, very important for me. Which, by the way, I didn't get that when I entered the draft. Mm-hmm. I had every intention on getting it, but I forgot what that dean's name was that was there then. But it was a situation where I had a class that I forgot my book one day, and this guy was a military guy, and the teacher was just kind of, I had an A in the class, first of all, and I still had like 3 days absence. You could get 3 days absence, right? Mm-hmm. And I was called, me and this professor got into it about the book. And I was like, look, man, I just forgot the book this day. I'm not the only one that forgot the book. Like 8, 9 other students forgot their book. But then, I was called out and saying, hey, well, you just think you're just going to go to the NFL and all of this stuff. And, and I just kind of felt like at that point, it was a guy picking on me and I was a kid, but I was a grown man, but I was still a kid. Right. And I just didn't feel like what he was saying was, I felt like his message was important and what he was saying, like, you shouldn't, I felt like the message was important. Like, football's not everything. You could get hurt, this and that. But I just didn't think it was valid for him to be even coming at me about it, because I got an A in your class. First of all, mm-hmm. This is the first time that you asked us to use the book, and I'm not the only one that forgot it. And then you said, well, what if you get hurt? And I said, well, that's why I got a $2 million insurance policy if I get hurt, mm-hmm. But I had every intention on staying in school, mm-hmm. which is what they didn't know. All my teammates knew that, and my close friends. Mm-hmm. So I get called to the dean's office, and that's when the first time I heard the word. And the dean told me that, if you miss another class, you're a high profile guy for the school, whatever, and everybody's looking at you. But if you miss another class, we're going to snatch you off the field. And I'll never forget the words he said, which, me and Woody cracked up about it, because he told me that, and don't worry about my job, because my job is tender. And so I thought he said tender, like tender, like I'm tender. So I'm thinking, is he sweet on me or something? Was he sweet or something? And then, so I told Coach Woody what happened, and Coach Woody just laughed. It was like, no, Jamie, he didn't mean tender. I was like, why are you saying me he's tender? Right, and Coach Woody said, no, he meant tenure. Yeah. I was like, tenure? I said, well, what the hell is that? He was like, it basically means he's godfathered into a position. Mm-hmm. And when he said that, I got pissed. I was like, whoa. Where I thought he was saying something, probably on the, homophobia side, which is not a problem. I mean, do what you do. But what I thought he was saying, actually, it's worse than it's 20 times worse than that. Mm-hmm. When I now know the meaning of what that meant, because I felt like, why would you be telling me that? Like, I have nothing to do with somebody being tenured or losing their jobs or nothing. I'm just a kid trying to make it. But I said, well, I got something for you in your tenure. You won't have to worry about dealing with me no more, because I'm going to enter the draft, period. And that's what I did. But I had just told my friends a couple nights before that I was coming back. I had asked Russian Jones, Everett probably knows, Doyle, all of these guys. We went out partying, whatever, and I was like, man, I love working with y'all. I love, this is my family. I'm gonna come back, man, because I really want to try to see if we can make this win. We can, get that bowl game. Mm-hmm. And after that happened, I started realizing that if I don't leave now, I'm not so sure I'll even get to see the field at all. Mm-hmm. So I said, what I'm gonna have to do is leave college, and I'm just gonna have to come back for my degree, because some of my teachers I was really close with, and they called me in to meet with me when they heard the news that I was gonna leave. They're like, you're gonna get all that money and you're never gonna come back to school. And I was like, well, yeah, just don't hold your head on that. I don't. You must not. I've always been a great student.
Mm-hmm. We're still here, Jamie. Go ahead, bud. You still with us, Jamie? I'm sure he'll be back in just a second. I do want to say hey to James Manley. One Donut, Mike Healy joined us a minute ago. When Jamie comes back on, James, I'll make sure that he knows that you're here with us tonight. And I do want to thank everybody who so far has joined us. I'm sure Jamie's just got either a notification or a Wi-Fi or a cell issue, but he'll be back in just a second. And if you guys haven't seen it, go to the top of the announcements on our page in this group, and you'll see the lineup of folks who are going to be speaking with me over the upcoming weeks. We're going to get them lined up all the way through the summer, and I'm very excited about some of the names that you see listed there. I think Kalijah Lipscomb's coming up, and Bruno Reagan's coming up. We got some other guys. We'll give Jamie just a minute to get back with us. And Michael Adam, thank you for stopping by. Jamie's he's an interesting guy. We got so much more to talk about. I hope he comes back in just a second. All right, while we're waiting on Jamie, let me give you guys the lineup so you can see who's coming in the upcoming weeks. Now, in 2 weeks, I'm going to take the week off from this, but we'll get right back at it. Next week is Kalijah Lipscomb. And then in 2 weeks, on June 25th, is Kenny Cole, Bruno Reagan, James Manley is July 9th, Mark Stump Johnson, who's one of my teammates, Chris Lee, who has run some of the social media for Vanderbilt in Nashville. You guys may have heard him on the afternoons. And then T. Banks at the end of July. And we're gonna get some more folks into August as well, hoping to get some coaches. I know that several of you have relationships with some of the coaches out there. So if you do, just send them my way and we'll be glad to talk with them. Let me send Jamie a note real quick, see where he is. I'm wondering if he lost his cell. And if we lost it, we'll come back. I'll get him back on here. We'll restart either in a few minutes or we'll have to go reset for another day. Because we hadn't even gotten out of Vanderbilt. He hadn't even gotten drafted yet. And it's amazing how one story that he's telling us can change the course of what he was thinking. It really is remarkable how he was all set to come back and then has this issue with the professor and then the dean. So Everett, yeah, it sounds like he was ready to come back. Let's see. I wonder if he lost his cell. But hey, Kenny Cole, thanks for listening in, bud. I'm gonna give him a couple of minutes to get back on. And it may be that his cell phone may have died in the interim because he's not answering my text right now. And while we're waiting on him, guys, look in your yearbooks, look in your closets and your drawers and in your sports memorabilia, your man caves or whatever you have by way of memorabilia. If you've got stuff that you want to share with the group, photos of your jerseys or photos from back in the day, either text them to me, send them to me through Facebook Messenger, or go ahead and post them yourself on there. It's awesome to see some of this stuff that everybody is sharing. Edie shared a great football she had from the 2008 bowl game, and as well as a couple of bobbleheads. One of Jay Cutler was in there. So those just awesome memories and some good stuff that's in there. So if you've got photos or your helmet or jerseys or whatever you have, just post it in there, because I know not only is it something that means something to you, but your teammates as well will enjoy them, and as will others who played over the years. Let's see, I'm gonna give Jamie about another minute or two before we see if we can resume coming back on. Edie, if you can share, I think you have my cell phone. You can share my information with Coach Kane or Coach Johnson. Be glad to chat with them if they'd like to come on. I'd love to schedule both of them to come on the show. I think both would be just outstanding interviews and discussions, and some of the former players would love to probably connect with them again. And you're right, James, Winborn was a beast. I specifically remember, and you were too. And Duncan and Carlton Hall, all of you guys just played so well on defense. It really was impressive. All right, guys. He's about to text me, so give me just a second. Let's see where we are. I know this makes for great Zoom time, doesn't it? It happens. It's the internet. You can't control some of these things. Okay, what he's still got to charge his phone, so we're going to call it quits for now. If I can get him back on within the hour or so, we're going to pick back up where we were, and hopefully you guys can come back for round 2 of this. So I'm signing off for now, but we will catch you guys hopefully in a little bit after he charges his phone for a while. Thanks, guys, and we'll be back in a little while. Bye-bye.